Hello and welcome to Shades and Layers. I'm your host, Godman. Today, my guest is Nsimire Godman, founder of Raha, Copenhagen. Her small batch production company offers her customers inclusive and aesthetically pleasing soy wax candles for the home. Nsimire is based in the capital city of Denmark, where she also runs her travel and fashion YouTube channel and Instagram page called Lights and Fabrics. Her love for sharing all things creative, coupled with a pandemic-era hobby, as well as mandated sick leave, led to founding of Raha Copenhagen. She envisions the brand as something that will move beyond lifestyle and include wellness and self-care. In our discussion, she talks about why wellness is such an important tenet in the foundation of her brand. She also shares her journey from Rwanda to Kenya to Copenhagen. Here is Nsimire's story.
My name is Nsimire. Godman is my new name. And I am the founder of Raha Copenhagen, which is a candle business where I produce candles in my own home, for now at least. And I call them very special candles because they are made of soy wax, which is much different to paraffin,
Sure.
which is the product we use on all kinds of candles. Mm-hmm. So that's basically what I do.
So before we get into the specifics, let's talk about how you came to this work and how you would describe it.
Yeah, it's a funny story, and I think we've touched up on it earlier on. I love candles. Mm-hmm. I've always been into candles. I feel like they give a certain mood, they give a certain calm environment around you. But I go way back with candles, and it's like from humble beginnings where I come from Rwanda originally, and my family, there was a point in our lives where we weren't privileged in terms of our economics. So sometimes we won't have enough money to pay off our electricity bills, so we will use candles. So they have always been a thing in my life that I have around the house. Call it a trauma or whatever, but I just need a candle in my house just in case there's no electricity. And as I grew older, I figured, well, you can use candles positively rather than a necessary thing to have in your house. Mm-hmm. So I tapped into that because I love having, as I said, I love having a healthy environment and doing things that makes me happy and feels therapeutic. So I started just, collecting candles. And one day, out of nowhere, I saw these candles that were molded differently than normal candles that we buy in the supermarket or the grocery stores. And I was hooked. And I was like, okay, so what is this exactly? And
what did it look like?
Unfortunately, it was like a bubble candle, like made in like this. Do you know these, what do you call them? These,
Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, Rubik's Cube. Yeah. So I was like, this is interesting. And then the more I went into that rabbit hole of candles, I found out that there is a whole world of different shaped candles. You do not always have to buy those,
Right.
typical candles that you see everywhere. And then I realized, oh, hold on a second. These candles, I have to order them from another country,
right?
Which will take forever. So what I did was just to start, researching on how can I get these candles. And then I did my research. And one day I was at a flea market, and then there was this lady who was selling these candles all of a sudden. And I felt like the universe was telling me, yay, you've got what you wanted. And then I bought one of them. And then she told me about how she produced these candles and how fun it is to produce candles. And then I went home and I started trying myself to produce candles, to have candles at home. And I got hooked on that, even though the process was just terrible. And then I used YouTube to just kind of guide me into how to make a candle, not just any candle, but candles out of these different shapes and molds. And that's how it became a thing for me to tap into that. And fun story, it just became a hobby.
Sure. And how long did it take you to, conceptualize what kind of candle you want to make, which would be different from what was on offer on the market, to actually starting to have a product that could be sold?
It took me a long time. I think I started. It took me 1 year to finesse, as I say, like to make a candle that was presentable. Of course, I'll make candles every now and then, as a little gift for my friends, family, and whatever. But once I feel like I had a grip on how to produce a candle, I was like, okay, maybe could be fun to actually sell these things that I am producing, because I was so proud of myself. And my husband was very, very encouraging. He was like, you can make a business out of that. And I was like, I know nothing about business. I'm just here for my own hobbies. But then the more, I made candles, the more you search for knowledge, and you're like, what kind of wax is possible to get, what's healthy, what's good, there's so many things to learn about candle producing. So on my journey, once I figured out, there is good candles and there are bad candles in terms of your health, in terms of your indoor environment, how you want to use your candles. I was like, okay, maybe I can find a market for this kind of product. And since I live in Denmark, it became much easier very quick, because first of all, we live in a small country. So the choices will be very narrow in terms of what kind of candles I would like. For example, I had seen these body shaped candles in, my skin tone. And I was very sure that I would never find them in Denmark. Completely sure that I would never find them in Denmark.
Absolutely.
So that became a motivating thing. Okay, so I was like, this is something that looks very aesthetically pleasing. And I know people out there who loves candles or loves interior design. They would love to have something that resembles their personality or how they look. So that was one factor that I wrote down while writing that, like, what should my brand represent? Diversity. So far, so good. So it started with these body shapes. I was like, I want, everybody's talking, just to draw like some comparison, everybody's talking about makeup and how we struggle to find the right color for every color shades out there. Yeah. That was the same with my candles. I was like, I see it in the US, I see it everywhere, but it's not here in Scandinavia. I'm not going to find a candle that looks like me or my sister, because my sister and I, we have two different, shade of tones. So that's where I was like, okay, so I have these ideas about how I want it to look like. So let's go with that. And then the next thing I went for was the wax, because there are so many different waxes out there. There are beeswax, there are paraffin, there are soy. I wanted something that was representative of the aesthetic that I was going for. I want something that looks very aesthetically pleasing, beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
And that was soy for me. And luckily, because soy, it's a creamy kind of wax. So it gives this very airbrush look. So I was like, okay, I got something. And the good thing about soy also is that it's healthy. It's from soybeans.
Sure.
So it gives like a clean burn. And that's where I also like, okay, I've got something, because my mother-in-law, she's actually allergic to candles. She cannot have candles that are made of paraffin, because that disturbs her health issues. So once I introduced her to soy wax, she was like, oh my God, I've never heard of this. This is, I can have it in my house and it's cozy. I like it.
So you solved a lot of problems with this soy thing.
So once I I figured out that I wanted to make some aesthetically pleasing candles that are healthy for your indoor environment, and also tap into the sustainable part. Like,
So I wanted to touch on that because you have the representation element, but there's more to talk about as far as that goes. But, the sustainability element, where does that land for you, and how does it manifest in the way you produce your product?
Well, the fact that I live in Scandinavia, I feel like sustainability just comes easily to us, and we're very privileged to have the resources to, have a sustainable life. That doesn't mean that it's highly costly. So it just comes naturally to me to just have, like, if I can live a sustainable life, of course I'm going to do that. So I wanted that with my candles as well. And how it manifests into my business is I produce a very limited amount, so I don't want to waste anything. I produce the amount of candles that my customers order. So I don't overproduce. I don't have anything on my, do you call it?
In your stock.
I don't
You
have
don't have like...
in my stock. Yeah, exactly.
So small batch to order productions.
Yeah. And also candles, I can remelt them just in case. So it's like the sustainable part is there again.
Sure.
If I don't get to sell some of my candles, or my customers are unsatisfied with the product that they received, I will remelt these, the wax, and then mold something to their satisfaction. So that way I'm sustainable. And when it comes to how I produce the candles, my wicks, have to be eco-friendly. They're made of like cotton, and there's so many things that I just are more environmental friendly, because it also taps into the modern day person who likes to enjoy themselves. So I have to think that in my producing of candles as well.
This is Shades and Layers. My guest today is maker and founder of Raha Copenhagen, Nsimire Godman. Her brand celebrates diversity and inclusion in the self-care journey. Her home-based soy candle making business focuses on sustainability, impact, and community. Up next, we hear all about that on her journey so far. Have you actually run into any customer problems so far?
Recently, actually. That was the first time, and it was like, oh no. Where I sent some candles, and because it's, like the post office, and, these are delicate because they're like molds, so they can be very delicate in terms of like how do you place them or how to hold them. So they broke actually on in the process of delivery. So the customers received some broken candles, and I was like, well, you know what, you keep them, or otherwise you can just send them. I'll pay for the shipment, and then I will remelt them for you in terms of some new ones. So in that way, I try to really keep my sustainability in check.
Because also there's packaging, right? So how do you package your goods?
That's also like, it's all recycling. And I don't know, like I'm so lucky to have people around me who has been entrepreneurs and in business in different areas. My mother-in-law used to have a business. She used to sew like small bags, and she will send them to her customers. So basically, she has these boxes that have been lying around for forever, and she don't use them for anything. So we reuse them and send them to our customers, and also boxes that I receive from ordering all kinds of stuff, whether it's my supplies in terms of waxes or wicks or anything. If they're reusable, I can reuse them. And I do tell my customers these are reused boxes, and that's how they look. They look very tarnished and everything sometimes, but I make sure that the packaging inside is very presentable. But you recycling boxes. Absolutely, because they're like if you buy something, it's not the box that you're going to keep around. You throw it out maybe. So I make sure that we can reuse it. And maybe my customers are going to reuse it for something else. So that in the packaging as well, I make sure that, okay, so how can we do this very friendly, and it doesn't have to look messy, but still make my customer aware of like, these boxes are not something that I just buy somewhere, but it's something that has been used elsewhere.
Oh, that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
really great.
Yeah.
Well, it actually sounds like you have quite the support structure around you in terms of getting this business going. So tell me more. Your mother-in-law, apart from being allergic to candles, she
Yeah.
sounds like a great
Yeah.
resource, Yeah.
No, she is. She's a very creative person. She's like naturally creative. So she also helped me in terms of, we had, flea markets. People stumbled upon our Instagram page and they would ask like, "Hey, would you like to be a part of a flea market?" Said yes. But I was like, okay, so we have to produce this amount of candles, and I am just a one man kind of boutique. So what are we going to do? My mother in law was like, well, let me help you. So she would produce in the daytime because she has so much time on her hands in the daytime, and I will produce in the evening. So we had a little
Right.
partnership going on, and she sometimes also comes with ideas because she used to make soap as well. Like I
Oh,
said,
right,
she's a
right.
very
Yeah,
creative.
yeah.
So like making creams and soaps, it's kind of the same process as producing candles. So she gave me all these kind of ideas, and she would say, well, we'll talk in terms of like how to do the next step. One thing is watching a YouTube video and someone telling you, and the other
And
thing
then
is
having to
actually trying
do
out.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
And I know when we did the pre-interview, you mentioned that your husband also
yeah,
has been helpful.
he runs his own company. So on that point, I used him to really help me with all kinds of very practical stuff, how to make a business plan, how to, like, all these practical stuff. I forgot to say, I am a social worker in
Yeah,
my
yeah,
daily.
yeah, yeah.
So I've never touched anything that sounds like business, anything that has to do with business. I've never been there. I've never been an entrepreneur. So it was a new world for me. I just knew that I had a hobby and I was becoming good at it, and I'm still learning. But I was like, okay, so you just have to sell this? And he was like, no, 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 no. You have to register your company. You have to make sure that, all these, because there are so many rules about selling something that burns.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
we had to get all these vouchers on, like, is it, to make it legal, to legalize my company in
yeah,
terms of like
yeah.
using all kinds of liquid products, oils, because I use scents as well, and has to be environmental friendly in terms of like people, if they buy my supply, if they buy my products, they're not going to get allergic reactions, and just all these practical boring stuff. It was
Yeah,
very
yeah, but that
helpful.
makes things run smoothly, right? Then you're
Yeah,
not running
yeah,
into
exactly.
unnecessary problems. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Even though like I'm still learning, and he too as well. And my mom used to run her own company as well. So very surrounded with
Yeah, that's great.
minded
That's
people.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So she's always the one who's like, she keeps me in check in terms like, you have to have like somebody look at your economy in terms of what you're getting in your income, how much you use on your products. Like, does it, all these mathematical things that
Sure.
I have absolutely no idea
Mhm,
of. I'm,
mhm.
I'm getting a grip of it as much as we talk, because everybody's so excited about this thing. Nobody knew that you could produce a candle. So once I produced a candle and we started this whole, like, let's sell them, everybody's tuning in. Everybody in my circle is like, so how is it going? So they're very excited. So we do share conversations about like how to run a business, and especially how to run a candles business, because it's a bit of a niche.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
That's pretty
yeah,
cool. That's really, really great.
yeah,
But let's talk about the brand itself. Raha
yeah.
Copenhagen. Let's start with the
Yeah.
name and what does it stand for?
Yeah, well, Raha Copenhagen, I really wanted to make both of my culture collide together.
Mhm.
So I have roots in Rwanda, and I'm born in Rwanda, and my family and I lived in Kenya for actually 4 years
Mhm.
after the war back in 94. And there, Swahili kind of became my second language. I have Kinyarwanda and then I had Kiswahili. And my dad has roots in Congo and they speak Swahili as well.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it has always been a language that has been in my subconscious. And then when I was thinking about, okay, so what do I want this brand to represent or this, company to represent? I thought of happiness and I thought of my origins and the story I told you about how I see candles and what they represent for me. And since I feel like Swahili was just the right language to use in this sense, I said Raha, because Raha in Swahili means happiness. Yeah. So like the happiness that like candle can bring you, light brings you.
Right.
And then Copenhagen, because it's my city.
That's where you are.
So happiness in Copenhagen.
Oh, that's nice. That's really nice.
Yeah.
So who do you want to be happy?
Yes, I want everybody, who sees this as an opportunity to indulge in some self-care, to be happy. I want people who has this mindset of like, when I said that I used to think candles were things that you had in your house just to make sure that you have some light once the electricity is gone.
Yeah.
I want us to indulge in buying candles for this, just for the sake of buying candles, to feel like you're content enough to use the small changes that you have to buy some candles and they will bring you joy. Because you're indulging in some sort of like, the small luxury in life. That's what I want my brand to represent. Like the small stuff that you do not necessarily think about, when you're having a candlelit dinner with your husband, or you're having candles around when you're having your friends around. It just creates something, and it's not big, but it adds to your joy.
Yeah.
And that's why like my target is just a vastity of people, like everyone who's just want to indulge in that little luxurious joy that you get when you purchase something so small.
Yeah. And I think it's important to point out that you say it is a brand, which means you've got a bigger vision for for what you're doing. So, you've got the candles right now, but what's the big dream?
You caught me there. I could have chosen to call it something candle, but I thought, well, we're going to expand this. The dream is to have something that has to do with wellness, basically. Just, small indulgence in your everyday life, as I might say. I am not quite sure how, my next step is going to be, but I know that it's going to be more than candles.
Yeah. And you mentioned wellness. Why is that an important thing to you?
I think when I look at how I navigated in my adult life and how to get a sense of self-awareness, one thing came to my mind. It was therapy. And I'm not a therapist, so obviously I cannot share my my therapeutic knowledge with somebody. But I also realized that taking time out to take care of your body, your mind, and your soul really, really does great things to you in terms of evolving as a human being. And it might sound cliche, like lighting up a candles or buying yourself flowers, but sometimes it really is that.
Yeah.
I had a period in my life where was the same period where I was making candles. I was in sick leave actually because of too much stress. And I started noticing with the help guidance of my therapist in terms of like buying small things to myself, doing small gestures for myself, such as buying flowers or rearranging my living room or lighting a candle because I had so many candles that I produced. And it just somehow it worked. And it has nothing to do with, capitalism, because I know a lot of people do tend to talk about, well, capitalism is, taking advantage of our mental health. I think it has something to do with realizing that you do deserve to treat yourself. Does not mean that you have to buy something, but you do have to take good care of yourself.
Yeah.
That could be anything.
Yeah.
And that's why, yeah, it's a brand. It could be anything. It shouldn't be something that you buy into. It could also be a collective of people. We
Mm-hmm.
get together
Mm-hmm.
in the
Mm-hmm.
Raha, Copenhagen city, and, share some food or share some thoughts. Or so, yeah,
No,
I want,
absolutely. Yeah. Doing nice things for
yeah,
yourself. I agree. I
yeah,
agree. I mean, you can also be caught in this trap of feeling bad for looking after yourself,
yeah,
right? Which is what you
yeah,
see all over media at the
yeah,
moment. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Great. So on the sustainability part, just one final thing. Talk to me about sourcing off your raw materials.
Yeah. Well, again, I have been very, very lucky that I live in a small city. So all my raw materials I get, like I have one supplier that supply me with my
Mm.
materials, and I make sure that they're all like eco-friendly. And I think most candle makers who are in the same path as I am in sustainable candle business, candle making, they have the same supplier because obviously they supply. There's only one supplier that I know of,
Right.
and that makes it much easier for me to just know that I am getting the right stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even though it took me forever to get to a point where like, okay, this is actually is in tune with my vision in terms of sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. It's time to find out about Nsimire Godman's personal journey to entrepreneurship on Shades and Layers. We will then get into the rapid fire, where we find out how she envisions telling her life story both as a book and as a film. Here we go. So you've talked a little bit about your journey in life. First it was Rwanda, then Kenya, and now you're in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
And you seem to have found your place, found your groove, and this is a place that's notorious, as I have been there, for not
Yeah. So
welcoming
you know.
outsiders. So, how have you found your place, and how does one thrive?
I think it's hard. To be quite honest, it is hard. Well, I've been lucky again because I came here as a young kid. But you lived here. It's a very close community, as if I
Mm-hmm.
can say it like that. So to get your foot in can be very, very tough. And I've seen it, but you simply have to fight through. I feel like you have to fight to get, like to get a seat at the table. And if you don't, a lot of people around say, if you can't get the seat at the table, you build your own table, you know. But the
Yes.
first thing that really grounded me and makes me outlive my dreams and my thoughts, it's having a community. Like,
Yeah.
because growing up and not having a close community can damage you, but finding people who thrive on you being happy and the other way around is very giving. And I think I found mine. It took me a long time because I've
Sure.
been here for 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But once I finally found my community, I think it was much easier to just say, you know what, let's build our own table and just
Sure.
start doing things. And
Yeah.
every now and then you attend these events and somebody introduce you to another person of color, or just diversity is just becoming a thing, and you see people really creating things that I didn't see 20 years ago. Like
Absolutely. It's definitely a
within
different city. Yeah.
it is definitely, because I feel like this generation is so fearless. We have so many people doing so many things. When, like, back when I was young, I didn't have like young black entrepreneurs to look up to here
Sure.
in Denmark and
Yeah.
say, oh, okay, I can do that. But I feel like it has become a thing now. It's like everywhere you look, someone is out there really trying to get through, even though it is tough. It can get tough. And it's also like having people who are allies. That's the most important. Like, when you have
No,
friends.
absolutely. Yeah. Because it's a
Yeah.
very, very, very small number of people of color still.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what didn't I touch on? I didn't touch on the range of candles. So they all have different interesting names.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting names, interesting shapes. Yeah, so
Yes.
you've already mentioned the bustier, and
Yeah.
then I saw there was one which was wavy. Yeah, tell me about each
Okay.
one in the range. Yeah.
Well, I started very small. Like normally, when you see other candles business, they have a range of different shapes, different looks, and different colors as well. I still wanted to stay very grounded, and I
Hmm.
wanted to build my brand very slow. Like it's slow but good,
Hmm.
and taking your time as
Hmm.
well. So I have four. The fifth is coming.
Hmm.
I wanted something that looks aesthetically pleasing in your home, not just to burn, but it has to go with your interior design at home, right? So I took something that can look familiar and something that you can relate to and something that isn't very disturbing for the eye. So yeah, there is the bustier, there is the time glass, and there is the
Hmm.
Rubik's cube, and then there is the wavy one that looks like a flower.
Yeah, that's very pretty.
um,
Yeah.
yeah. And then we have the rainbow that is coming as well. So I gave them different names, and also in Swahili, because I really want to incorporate my Africanness in
Hmm.
this.
Hmm.
So they all have something that is loving, is a happiness. Because the thing is, the vocabulary in Swahili is just wide. So you
Right.
can say
Yeah.
happiness in so
So many
many
ways.
different
Yeah.
ways. You can say love in so many ways. So that's how I named my candles.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So we've talked about where you want to take your business, or rather, let me say your brand, right?
Yes.
So let's go into, how you see yourself. We're going to do the rapid fire.
Oh,
You've had
all
quite the
right.
adventure. So if somebody had to
Yeah.
commission a memoir from you today, what would you call it and why?
Oh dear, I don't even know. What would I call it? Um, the blooming flower.
Yeah. Why are you a blooming flower?
I think as we grow, as we go on this self discovery journey, you find out that you're not that bad at it.
True.
There's so many petals like on
Mm,
you
mm.
that just keeps on blooming, and sometimes you're happily surprised, and sometimes you're just like, oh, this is a side of me that I don't like, but you keep blooming. You look nice,
Awesome.
you know.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice, nice. So you take that book and you turn it into a movie. Who do you choose for the
Yeah.
lead actress?
Ooh, Viola Davis.
Through and
Always.
through. No hesitation
Through
there.
and through. Mm-mm. I love
Oh,
her.
oh, that's wonderful. And if you had to invite a famous black woman to dinner, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Oh dear, there's so many. Let's go with Angela Bassett. She's an
Oh,
actor, and
I
um,
love her.
you do
I
you
love her.
yeah.
She's my everything
She's
goal, from fitness to aging to
I
whatever
know, right?
creativity. She's just everything.
That's why you just described the reason that I just want to sit and have a conversation with her about being a woman. Like, how do you do it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, her,
Oh,
definitely.
she's amazing.
She's
Yes.
everything.
Oh, we are
Yeah.
aligned there, definitely. I would love
Yeah.
to hang out with her. She's the queen
Oh, me
mother, for
too.
goodness sake.
I know. Yeah, Black Panther. Like, what? Yeah, definitely her.
Yeah.
So many other, but her. I was like, she's a very interesting woman.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely. Great. So if people want to work with you, get in
Yeah.
touch, follow your work, where can they find you?
Well, we do have our Instagram and we have our website. So our website is rahacopenhagen.dk,
Mhm.
and we have our Instagram, which is raha slash cph.
Mhm.
And yeah, DM us. We're always ready to just
Great.
answer.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. And that is all from me this time around. Thank you, Nsimire, for sharing your journey so generously. If you want to learn more about Nsimire and her brand, Raha Copenhagen, please visit the show notes. While you are there, please hit the share button and let someone else know that Shades and Layers is the place to be. Thanks again for your support. I'm Godman, and until next time, please do take good care.